plays in the game. So I think, like, if you take last game as an example, I think if you pick the Slaughter, then you cannot pick the TA as well. Then you need to pick the puck on 17, so that the Naga pick is not as strong, because yeah, their draft is so locked at that point after the 4 first heroes.
I want to ask you how you feel about first pick versus second and Dire versus Radiant. Like, is there any clear advantage that you see having coached not just the NA scene, but also how it works internationally?
I think second pick is probably what most teams favor, just because you have the 2 counter picks. You have the absolute last pick and you have the 18 pick, right? And that's really strong. I think that outweighs what first pick has, which is the 1 counter pick in the first phase, you would say. And as for Radiant Dire, I think Dire has a slight win rate right now, advantage. And
everything except C and SA, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the sides is always kind of hard to judge. Why is this, right? Might be it might be because some of the heroes that are being played right now, it might be like the Roshan is
not as valuable.
It is valuable, but it's maybe harder to take early on. And even if you do take it, it does require a lot of resources to take it. So if the team has a lot of emphasis on taking Roshan, the other team can be like, okay, we just give it away and we farm the map, right? So that's kind of what the Radiant advantage was about for a while, like for a long time, really. But if Roshan is, the first Roshan is kind of nerfed, then yeah, it's maybe not as important.
It really does feel like a lot of the decisions that you're making are... Farming feels like the better option than a lot of other decisions, right? You know, going and stealing away stacks or doing this. It's just splitting up the map, getting not only the net worth, but also an experience lead, so that when those team fights happen, you're in a much more advantageous spot. Like, even if one person dies on one side of the map, as long as 2 cores are farming and maybe a support, you're on the winning end of it a lot of the time.
Yes, I also think that, speaking of OG, especially, it's like one of the best teams that actually, like, having 3 cores farming at all times, right? Right. They even have a voice line saying, like, I don't care, I'm just gonna hit creeps, right? Yes. And that is, you know, one of the absolute strengths of this hero, this team.
We get right into the draft. This time, PSG LGD will get rid of the Viper and the Timbersaw, because OG gets rid of the Razor, as LGD has first pick, and Chinese teams, they love that first pick Razor.
I think everyone loves first pick Razor. Like, there's so few ways to be able to counter.
100% win rate, though, on Chinese teams, and Secret, which is now an official Chinese team as well, due to the first picking of Razor.
I mean, Zeus is another one of those heroes that provides you that versatility, right? Like, LGD haven't revealed anything with being able to pick this one up, being able to run it 2, 4, 5. It's totally viable in any of those roles. So I like this opening. Again, it gives a little bit more strength to that 8th pick, the last pick of the first phase. I'm assuming that OG probably went for the 2nd pick this time around, because it really felt like they just got crushed in the overall game strategy in game number 1 because of how LGD were able to respond in that draft.
I'm curious, Misery, when you talked about the strength of 2nd pick, right? There's still some strength to 1st pick. For example, Tia, we saw it. There's so many broken heroes. The 8th pick became kind of like crucial. So was 1st pick. Well, how do you think the 8th pick right now is best utilized in the current meta?
I think the 8th pick can be strong, but it can also kind of be not strong. That sounds maybe a bit redundant, but like, in a way, I think 1st pick is a lot about trying to pick as many flexible heroes as you can to confuse your enemy into not having this valuable 18, valuable 24 pick, right? If the enemy don't really know where your heroes are going, if they have like 4 or 5 flexible heroes, it's very hard to pick 1 or 2 heroes that counters all that, right? Okay. Because you can adjust which heroes goes which lane, which heroes core, things like that. So I think 1st pick is a lot more about maybe confusing your enemy or throwing out a curveball or disguising some of your core heroes with potential supports and so on. A bit like we see with the Viper from OG, right? Right. They're able to play it both 4 and 5 and also on MR. So
we haven't seen a game, I believe, at least that I've been covering here on the panel, where when you're picking a support in this 8th pick, it is what wins you the game, right? We've seen some Nyx Assassins, we've seen like even a Crystal Maiden occasionally, and it just feels less impactful, right? Because it's not that, ooh, we're going to be able to protect this with the next 3 bans. Clockwork, it isn't really that, but you do get that flexibility still, right? Zeus, like I said before, can play 3 different lanes. Clockwork 2.5, I guess.
Unless you're 9.
Unless you're 9, but I don't think we're going to be seeing Nothing to Say play a mid-Clockwork this game.
I am curious though, because you have been hyping this pick up the whole tournament. Every time they pick Warlock, you go, they need something going with the backlines. You always mention Clockwork, so is that enough to justify this pick?
I think it's good just to be able to disrupt the Clockwork a little bit, but it's not just what you're able to do to them. You're providing a lot of assistance to the Zeus, right? You're disrupting the team fight. You're creating this barrier that Zeus has to play around in addition to the Heavenly Jump. Like, it becomes a lot easier game for the Zeus if you're just able to sit back and freely cast your spells. So I think what OG need to focus on, obviously they've already got the Tiny that can fulfill the role, but they need a way to be able to have vision, but also punish the Zeus on the backlines.
I'm curious about the Warlock pick because it was a staple of the Chinese teams coming into this tournament, then it quickly adapted to pretty much everybody. What are the current strengths of this pick and why is it so overwhelmingly strong?
I mean, he's a really strong laner, right? He can pretty much enable any carry, and he's very flexible in terms of what he lanes against. It's pretty hard to counter this hero in lane, and then on top of that, he has like some of the best team fight you can find in Dota, right? So it's a very stable hero. I think it makes sure that you have all the team fight you need in a draft, and like secures your carry, basically. I do like the Clockwork pick, and something you guys didn't mention is the fact that, I mean, with Zeus, it's like the Zeus ult adds that extra damage that makes Clockwork that much stronger and potentially sets him up for a better game.
Even just the Nimbus, right, inside the cogs.
Yeah, that's
a extra.
But also like Clockwork is one of those heroes one of those fours that does not need any items to be effective, right? His 6 is really strong, but he doesn't need, like for example, Tiny kind of needs a Blink Dagger when played as a 4, right? But Clock needs no items. And I think we see more of these heroes that has a really strong 6 but doesn't need items, more popular right now. Clock, Earth Spirit, for example, Tusk as well. Even Nyx Assassin, right? Their 6 is really strong and they don't need items to actually make stuff happen on the map. They don't need a downtime to start farming Blink Dagger. Whereas Tiny, I mean, OG is probably going to put Tiny mid, but just like comparing fours here, like that's why I think Clock is seeing more play now, because there's more emphasis on cores having, space to farm. You can't have your support need like, I need 4 minutes, guys, then I'm ready. There's no time for that,
Do you think there's the potential for them to still run the Tiny as a 4 and then pick up something like a Puck for themselves again? BZM plays it really well. Also, you're going to get enabled by that Fatal Bond so heavily, right, where Puck kind of needs that little bit of extra spike in damage in the early game just to make sure he's having that impact? Yeah,
I mean, it's always possible, right? Like, one of the strengths of Tiny as a pick is, obviously, the hero is really strong, both mid and 4 too, but it's like the flexibility of the hero is strong, and that's probably why we see it from second pick being good as well, in this case.
I'm also curious about how this strategy, these faster supports, do you feel like it's also been an answer to this Tricore that we've been seeing from a lot of teams? OG started that in Stockholm Major, or they perfect that perhaps. Do these faster fours don't need items, put more pressure into these Tricore strategies?
I mean,
or do they enable them instead?
They enable them in both, like we see a lot of range cores nowadays, like they enable them in the laning phase, but then also in mid game when you kind of like farming all 3 lanes, like OG style, right? You need those supports to kind of block the smokes and kind of give vision for your cores, right? And those heroes that don't need items, that are kind of, it's kind of annoying to run into a Clock, He might hook away, he might put cogs down. Same with the Nyx Assassin, right? He's running back and forth. Even Tusk, like these heroes are, even if you run into them smoked, you might not be able to kill them. And if you do kill them, it doesn't really matter, right? Sure. So I think that's also some of the strengths of the heroes.
Well, there's a way to be able to get in onto the back lines if you get the Blink Dagger into the shackles. Certainly gives you that follow-up potential. So that'd be interesting. I didn't know Seb had subbed in for OG already, just being able to come into this one. But just even with the Clockwork as well, one more point that I want to touch on is obviously the double damage that you can now do to creeps with the Battery Assault, so that if you are out there blocking creeps, trying to hunt around a little bit, you have the potential to like shove in a more dangerous lane a little bit more effectively, right? You can get that farm if you need to, just to relieve a little bit of map pressure on the map.
Yeah, it's definitely like covered some of the hero's weakness before. Like you are able to farm some camps in the downtime. As for the bans, we can have a look at fast. Like I think it's kind of a lot of the same bans we see nowadays. It's always like these Bristlebacks and like Death Prophet.
Particularly with a Warlock, the Bristle is just like so devastating in the lane. Right? Cool Spray is going to hit everything. You bully them out of the lane. You've got insane sustain with the Shadow Word.
Fatal Bonds, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm really thinking of is how is LGD going to be able to respond to this? Because they've obviously got really good team fight. Now they've got good pickoff as well with the Wind Ranger. So which one do you choose to focus on? I feel like Dawnbreaker is pretty good, right? Because you can go for the pickoff. You have a strong lane. You've got that ability to respond to like a Tiny initiating onto someone with the Fatal Bonds. And kind of like I was talking about with the Clockwork, if this Dawnbreaker goes into a support role, not to say it has to, you can also play that more dangerous role, free up a lot of space on the map for the cores to continue to farm.
There's another aspect of this draft that we've been seeing a lot this tournament as well, which is the global aspect as Dawnbreaker came into the meta. With Zeus, Clockwork, and Dawnbreaker, there's a lot of global potential here. How do you feel about that strength of a lineup? Is that ever a factor that you look into it, the mobility around the map?
Yeah, I think these global heroes, like we see a lot of them being played right now.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, Dawnbreaker, Zeus, Furion especially right now. Like these heroes are, I mean, they add an extra kind of dynamic to your lineup,
Sure.
right? That makes it easier to play. But we see here LGD, they have. I was gonna mention like how they are still flexible in the sense that they can put the Dawnbreaker mid, off lane, and carry, and the Zeus can still be support. They end up picking the Jakiro here, which kind of locks their draft a bit more. But at the same time, they're able to put the Dawnbreaker carry as well as off lane. Knowing them, I think it's probably more likely to be off lane. Because I mean, maybe Amir can play it, but I strike LGD more as being, you know, they want him to be on an actual like hard carry, right?
Sure.
And they go with the Void here.
One other thing I want to point out as well, with LGD's draft, one thing I really like about it, we've talked a little bit about that global presence coming through with the Zeus and the Dawnbreaker, and it feels to me like this Jakiro and Clockwork, once you hit level 6 on Jakiro, on both of them honestly, they can just roam on their own and look to pick off kills, right? You get the hookshot, you get the cogs, drop down the macro pyre. If it's a support, that's all you need. If it's a core, a really high priority target that you find, you're able to drop that Thunder God's Wrath and the Solar Guardian to be able to convert onto a really valuable kill. So it allows something like the Dawn and the Zeus to just sit back and farm and let the supports be the ones to take the onus on being aggressive.
Now that the Void got picked, there is no chance of Jakiro going offlane here, right? Because it is a freebie here for the Jakiro.
I mean, that could be really cool if they choose to do that, honestly.
And the other point for the Void I'm questioning is Void into Dawnbreaker. Usually they try to avoid that because obviously they're healing the Dawnbreaker. How do you feel that matchup goes, Misery?
I mean, I think Dawnbreaker is a super strong laner, but I feel like Void Warlock will be really happy going against like Clockwork Dawnbreaker.
Sure.
They're gonna be, so that's why I kind of like the idea of doing Jakiro offlane with the clock and then having Dawnbreaker either played as 5 or as the carry here, right? I think that could be putting a lot of pressure on OG. I wonder if it's a little bit of a drastic kind of
Change.
move. Yeah, change, but so I feel like they're not going to do that. They could put the Jakiro in the offlane as a support though, together with the Dawnbreaker and play clock into the tiny 4.
Wouldn't hate that. I mean,
Actually, it's win 1 and 4, so they know that it's a tiny mid now.
Yeah.
That's also something to note.
and a Spectre coming out. Okay, really doubling down
Classic.
on that global potential, right? 3 different heroes. Again, Clockwork, I guess you could say Rocket Flare is that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on the Void really quickly, though. It feels like that time dilation is going to have a lot of value this game. You know, Dawnbreaker, one of those heroes that likes to weave in and out of fights, use the spells. They've got similar-ish cooldowns. Same sort of thing with the Zeus, right? You want to be constantly casting. Even the Jakiro to some extent. So I feel like maybe an early Ag Shard is the way that they're going to go after the Maelstrom on the Faceless Void this game, just to be able to dominate a few of those early skirmishes and look to cement the control on the map. But I really like LGD's draft so far.
How does OG respond to this? Like, what's the final pick that makes their draft work? It seems like they have to just concentrate on Void being strong here. Like, you need something inside the chrono.
I mean, they might pick something like Underlord or...
It's banned.
It's banned?
Yeah, they banned Underlord,
Okay.
Slaughter.
Maybe Tidehunter. Could be... I mean, they just need something that goes up against the Spectre and just chills there, right? Because it's, it's a pretty free
What
lane
about
for
a
a lot of
Necro?
offlaners.
Necrophos?
Necrophos?
I mean...
Huskar.
they got
Wow.
a Zeus.
Oh, that is the
Okay.
Amar special. Hello.
Don't hate that. Don't hate that. We get to see something else coming out, and there's all smiles with the OG boys as well. I was thinking, like, what's going to provide break? Because, I mean, Tiny eventually, I suppose, can look to go into it, but that Spectre is going to be a little bit of a menace unless the lane gets dominated by Amar.
Yeah. Every time I see the Huskar, I still remember this one pub chat I saw of Amar where he picked a Razor for the 15th game in a row, and someone out chats, I forgot who it was, Razor again, and he goes, "Do you want me to do Huskar instead?" As that's the threat from Amar.
So, like, right now, I think the pick is cool and everything, but I feel like there's a bit of a weakness for OG if LG chooses to try lane, safe lane.
Ooh.
Because they can actually just throw the Dawnbreaker off lane alone against Warlock, and he should be able to get a lot of stuff, right?
Get something.
By himself, yeah, something. Meanwhile, Huskar is a hero that's pretty reliant on having a good lane, right? Getting that armlet on early on. If he's shut down, it can be a real problem for their draft, I think so. I don't know if they can do that, but I think that's something that they can punish OG with.
Oh, as you guys saw the draft here, you see the Spectre is like kind of about to disappear, and so will we. We will also disappear and give way to the casters for this game 2 between OG and PSG LGD.
Amar the Husker, that last pick coming out, Lacoste That's a dirty one, isn't it? OG really flipping the script on that.
It really is, but this global presence, we've seen it so many times in this patch over the DPC in this tournament. Teams do prioritize a couple of these heroes. We're talking about the Zeus, we're talking about the Dawnbreaker especially, and now we're gonna have a full combo: Clockwork, Dawnbreaker, Zeus, and Spectre on one team. Maybe they could have had, Ancient Apparition to have 5 out of 5, because Jakiro is a bit sluggish, but we'll see. I like the point that Misery made on panel about the potential tri-lane to be able to just get to this, good start to Ame, because Huskar doesn't deal well with the tri-lane, and the Dawnbreaker could potentially be left alone, I would say, for a couple of minutes, maybe 2-3, and then she will need help. It's not a killer lane. We're talking about Warlock plus Faceless Void.
Passive.
It's very passive. It's about securing your safe lane farm, pretty much.
Yeah, keep that Void topped up on his HP. Not really any aggression or kill threat from them. Yuragi going to walk up on the high ground to try and scout any vision, but Faith Beyond was there ready and waiting for him. It's always so cool to see how these concepts develop, right? The first time we saw these heroes going into that mid-tower range looking for observer wards, then we see people reacting, putting a player there, so you can't really give away that information. And now it's always someone sat there to scout out. As LGD hold the high ground near the top rune.
And the backstab from LGD.
From behind, they're baiting with nothing to say, and OG, they had no idea this was coming.
They want Amar.
Huge dual breath in onto Amar and Misha. Focus the Huskar with a battery assault. Jinkyu body blocking him, and Amar about to die as your first blood spilt out by LGD Zeus. Nothing to say, your mid laner grabbing that extra gold is going to be a huge boost to him.
Not perfect execution from LGD for that first blood. They did not allow them to see them. And look at the 2 observer wards scouting things out. One in the triangle and one behind tier 1 and tier 2 tower.
That's huge. I see everything coming. And it looks like Misery was absolutely spot on. 3 heroes from LGD up top. The tri-lane has been assembled. And Amar, I think he's realized what's coming. He sits away. They focus Tiger, forcing both supports back as Misha has also traversed his way up top. Tri-lane versus tri-lane.
Does have a Fairy Fire.
What year is it? Tiger is dual breathed up. The Fairy Fire popped. He's alive and safe under the tier 1.
Yep. I saw the post on Reddit about old eHome from 2008 or 2010. These are the guys, ESWC, they invented the tri-lane.
The old Visage, the Undying. Now, none of them. We've got Warlock, Windranger against the Clockwork Jakiro, and Tiger is in trouble again. Misha's trying to tank the battery assault for him. But you've got so much harassment coming out of these LGD heroes that OG have been buckled, sent back to their tower time and time again.
Also, Ame going for Earn. This is a bit of an old school build, because they knew, they already know, PSG, LGD, they're prepared in every single segment of the game, because they knew that they're going to run a tri-lane. So having that means they're going to be a little bit more kills, a bit more aggression. So the value that you get from Earn is going to be pretty nuts in this game. Also, to say, off to a good start. One more time, getting the first blood, getting that bottle. So he's going to have room to be secured, and also bringing some extra items. What is he bringing? Magic Stick and the Clarity.
Yeah, leaps and bounds ahead already. And will the Spectre, you reckon, finish that into Spirit Vessel against the Huskar, or is it just an Earn for laning
it's
stage?
Just for the laning stage. It gives you decent amount of stats, a bit of mana regen, and yeah, exactly what you need.
Makes sense, makes sense. Yeah, that Sage's Mask is such a valuable item all around. Good pick up for him, as Misha's Courier, with a lot of regen on it, dies. So this top lane looking pretty dire for OG.
Sage Mask for something called Sage. It's, carries are pretty happy to buy the item.
They are. Now bot lane, Yuragi against Faith Beyond in a 1v1. So that's not too bad for the Dawnbreaker, right?
No, Dawnbreaker's gonna do okay, because she does, every single time the hammer's used. And look at the build. He's going for a point in Luminosity, just to have some extra sustain, a bit of more harassment. Here comes the harassment, because he just used the Time Walk.
Tiger turning onto Jinkyu. Why is that? To hold them back. It's triple range from OG, so they've got the ability to position themselves and do good damage into the Spectre and the Clockwork if they are able to put themselves in that spot. They'll go towards Ame. A couple of burning spears. Why? Getting chased down by Tiger. So revenge for OG incoming. No way for Jakiro to slip away from that. Finish him off with the
They want to get a return
fire.
kill. Only level 1 on Clockwork. Needs to be a little bit careful.
Straight towards Tiger, though. Into the middle of 3 of them. Shadow Word on him. Tiger, wind running away, and now Xin-Q going to hand his life over to Amar, who gets a double kill.
OG used the opportunity because Clockwork was trying to pull the lane back. Lane was very close to tier 1 tower of OG, and they needed to pull it back, and instant aggression coming out. You mentioned the 3 range heroes, especially against Spectre. Ame actually has Spirit Vessel queued up.
Ooh. Yeah, that's why I was wondering. Against the Huskar, it kind of makes sense, but you have the worry that he's not going to scale if he buys this item. It's quite expensive for a position 1 to go for this utility item. As in that mid lane, top rune spot, BZM trapped inside the cogs. Xin-Q, he sets it up for nothing to say here to get a bit more zap damage in. And Zeus finding another kill and accelerating his own game.
He still might change his mind about the Spirit Vessel, but yeah, thinking outside of the box, maybe they're gonna play a bit more like heavy, like carry-oriented build on Dawnbreaker, and the Spectre will catch up. Because you don't want to have Spirit Vessel on the core Dawnbreaker. Zeus is not the one that's gonna buy it, but yeah, we'll see if he heavily commits to it.
Let's see what he does. Yeah, we'll give him that little bit of a window there. It's a nice stopgap item just to kind of bridge the early game.
OG will need to be careful. Zeus is going to be level 6 very soon after the next creep wave. So then having that extra damage on 3 heroes against the tri-lane, that's going to be massive. This is when LGD will try to get a kill or 2.
Well, the contest on the pull. Xin-Q getting shackled, but he's got Tiger inside the cogs now. Dagger across from Ame. Close the gap onto the Wind Ranger. She'll try and get out with the Wind Run. Xin-Q going in, but the Solar Guardian is coming in, landing onto Amar's head. And Huskar, the quick change of focus, charging in towards Misha and Tiger now, and all 3 of them are going to die. Clockwork, the only casualty for LGD. And Zeus, yeah, he was dropping low in that mid lane.
He was ready to pop the ulti, but no mana has Arcane Boots right now. This global presence, this is how they're going to get more heroes and just try to kill this tri-lane. Xin-Q doing a lot of work in terms of refilling the bottle, ganking the mid lane. He's securing nothing to say's early game, and yeah, in terms of levels, not doing so hot. Level 2.5 on Clockwork. Shackle doesn't connect. Tiger steals Invis.
Snags in under the nose. I have nothing to say. He's still full HP, full mana though. Would have liked a bottle refill, but not a massive deal. Tiger coming in from behind. The avalanche was there, but no toss available for BZM. Couldn't get on top of the Zeus. While back up the top, that's just, yeah, Xin-Q. Every time you look at this Clockwork, he is there, trapping someone inside cogs. Fatal bonds from Misha, though, trying to swing the momentum back their way. And even though they are 2v3, they push LGD back, and in the mid lane, another shackle shot. An interesting angle there from Tiger. Still unable to finish him off, and nothing to say, stands his ground. Blows up the Wind Ranger and survives on a sliver of HP.
Raindrop plus a Fairy Fire, even a full magic one. Usually you don't see that item on Zeus, but this is what keeps him alive. Having a couple of extra charges and also 3 extra attributes. Man, looking at the bottom lane, Fate Beyond 43 and 13 against 29. So he's going to have another ulti in 15 seconds. Is he bringing, yeah, a couple of mangoes?
Yeah, just keep that game flowing for LGD.
Xin-Q, another refill.
Oh, he's all over the place, isn't he? I don't think he's come down bottom yet, so he's got one of those maps. He wants to travel the world. He's going to cross the bottom jungle off his list as he gets a nice little ward there deep in the jungle. He has spent a lot of time kind of ping-ponging from top to mid, bouncing around.
Dawnbreaker ulti available. Zeus not ready, but they're waiting for nothing to say on the high ground.
They were waiting for him. They know that rotation was coming, but the Solar Guardian and the raindrops popped out. Nothing to say, he's fine. BZM spent his combo with no kill coming, and a turnaround cancelled by Tiger. Good shackle shot. Stops the Starbreaker, and Uragi saves the void. He's here with Chrono ready, holding onto it for the time being, and blown up completely. Didn't spend his ultimate. Well, Amar, yes, he'll kill off Y, but Spectre chasing him down under the tier 1 tower top. The avalanche toss, not finishing off the clock. LGD yet again winning a battle where it looked like OG had the setup on them.
Yeah, nothing to say was keeping the distance on Zeus, using Arc Lightning like I don't know, 10, 15 times, and they just couldn't get stuff done. Even if he lands a Chronosphere, I don't think there's enough damage. Like, in terms of damage inside Chrono, they're gonna be pretty limited. We're talking about, like, maybe Tiny's Avalanche, Power Shot, but other than that, yeah, it's gonna be very, very limited. And now Spectre has ulti, so they don't necessarily need to play the top lane. They can shift position to potentially bottom lane. Zeus will have ulti available in 3 seconds, plus Arcane Rune. Like, this is global strat.
Like they can play anywhere. They're not locked into any potential, real part of the map. They've got the potential to go wherever they want to. If they know there's a target they can kill quickly, they'll find him. But this Radiant Observer ward, getting dewarded, did spot them coming, so Misha will retreat back behind his tower. They'll see Yuragi bottom though in a second. I think that Dire ward might just have... maybe it didn't. The trees were there, right? I don't think they knew exactly where he was going.
Ah, man, what a player. Going for Spirit Vessel, no boots, Magic Wand on Spectre. We'll have it in 400 gold. I guess he understands that this Huskar could potentially get out of control if he's not countered. All they have is like magical damage. There's gonna be some physical coming out from Fate Beyond because he's going for Deso.
Oh, from the offlane, yeah, he is.
This is what I mentioned, just him scaling a little bit more to have the damage because Spectre going for different item, and in terms of tower damage, they don't have as much, so this Deso is going to help out quite a lot. Chain Q, Shackle on him.
And BZM coming forward, but there we go. Dawnbreaker ult, it is forced down, the Chrono on 2. Why? And nothing to say, looking to get damage in from the sideline. The Tiny was trapped inside the Chrono, now Ice Path and caught out. BZM in trouble, the Spectre horns back in towards Yuragi. Chasing the Faceless Void, a good Shackle shot comes. But Yuragi, that time up to the low ground, I don't think that's enough to give him the space he needs.
One more zap.
LGD will find the Faceless Void. A lot of ultimates expended in that trade. But LGD coming out on top once again. BZM, pick off the Jakiro.
Oh, the slows on the attack speed.
So
nothing
difficult.
to say. Has another chain and we'll get it.
He's going to get the double here, isn't he? I mean, Amar is arriving. Jinkyu will try and save, nothing to say, but the Huskar with the damage. Amar jumps in, the Cox were good, but they kill the Zeus.
That's a big one. Amar on top of the net worth right now. He was in the triangle, getting a couple of stacks, and very close to just a casual Sand right now. Having that armlet, it's going to be a bit difficult to go in and kill Roshan because of all the global presence that they have. Like, even one rocket could change things, one Zeus ulti. So they need to take a fight before they can go inside a bit with the Huskar.
And a little bit nasty playing into Jakiro as well. Damage over time is always your enemy as a Huskar with an armlet. 11 minutes, 4 seconds. First time this patch, no surprises whatsoever. As Spectre finishes the Spirit Vessel.
It's easy to break a record if you go for item that no one buys.
I wonder what the stats are on like a Crystal Maiden Rapier.
Well, probably happened, man. Not in the DPC tour, but yeah, in some lower brackets definitely happened. Zeus ulti is available. He used the previous one with your Arcane Rune, so that means it's going to be up again. BZM on Tiny. Shut down a little bit. Also, he decided to go for Power Treads and Wind Lace, so Blink Dagger gonna be delayed.
Yeah, much slower game from him. And both of the big cores, well, I guess the regular cores on OG sitting about 4,000 net worth, and again we come back to the point about Amar being that position 1 from the offlane. He is the highest farmed hero in the game at over 6,000. A lot rests on his shoulders going into these mid-game team fights.
Oh, Radiant using the scan, wrong side. PSG LGD will do a wraparound. It's only Wind Ranger that they can find. Should be an easy one. Another Arcane Rune. Could we check the rune control again for this particular game? Because in the previous one, Zeus 6, Tiny 3, and Clockwork 5.
Oh, we've seen this from LG, right? You know, up against any team at this tournament. It has been control the runes for nothing to say. Bounty runes as well, of course, adding a lot of that income to LGD's bank accounts. It's a 1K lead. So on the other side, you can say OG doing a pretty good job at keeping the farm rate itself and actually hitting creeps much better. 107 last hits compared to 69 on the Faceless Void.
Nice. Faceless Void going for Head of Midas is going to have it right now, pops it immediately. Seems like Yuragi going for a bit of a different item build because he was playing 1 versus 1, so you don't need that much sustain. It's still slower. I believe like one of the fastest one was an EU DPC Div 2, like 5 minutes, 5-minute Midas, because Faceless, it was also on Faceless Void, yeah. Low skill, I believe, is the one who got it.
7 minutes usually. On as fast as Void. Might be a rush, you know, he's going for Tread's Wraithband. TP's away from the bot lane, gets out of the reach of Faith Beyond's Dawnbreaker. And there's another rune, right? DD spawns bot. Guess who's getting it? It's nothing to say.
He is picking up the power runes. Jinkyu all over the place with his clockwork, moving around the map in the triangles, cutting things out, what's happening now near the outpost, planting some vision, being very annoying in their face. And they have this global presence, they don't even need it to pop the Warlock.
No, they don't. Straight onto the Warlock, and yeah, LGD is so good at playing into their vision. Yeah, he's getting into position to place it, but is also rallying his team to come and use that vision to their advantage to get these kills. OG looking to make a concerted effort to go and push out top lane with 3 heroes there and getting some wards down of their own, scouting Ame in the jungle.
Ame is still more farmed than Yuragi, even though he decided to go for Spirit Vessel, which is not an item that helps you farm by any means.
Yeah, looking for those charges for the kills. A couple of minutes ago, there was a lot of drawing from OG, the captains saying, stay on our side of the river, don't overextend, just keep this calm, natural farm rate, income flowing.
Fate Beyond finishing this, so they are ready to go. Like, they want to take a fight right now. Spectre, Haunt is available if they want to show where Warlock is.
And they see Yuragi. A few spells onto him immediately. The Golem dropped in onto just Jinkyu. The Fatal Bombs across the 4 of them. Tiny in with the Avalanche Toss, and they've killed the Clockwork quickly. Solar Guardian now, as Faith Beyond arrives, and they'll burst through too. Tiger and BZM being blown up. Y will drop, and Faith Beyond taken out by Amar, and Yuragi's Chrono. The turnaround for OG. They kept Tiger alive, and now they're on the Spectre. 5 heroes about to die. LGD getting wiped.
Oh, what a beautiful fight from OG. Very patient with the Golem and also with the Chronosphere. They did not want to commit immediately. They also have like good ways to counter-initiate. And yeah, look at some of these numbers. Is that 3,000 damage done by Warlock?
Yeah,
4,000 by Huskar. Yeah, those Fatal Bonds. And finally, OG about to pick up 1 rune. Oh, Misha gets it.
An arcane rune for him.
Yeah, because Tiny was not close. Usually you would want to give it to Tiny, but Tiny does not have a TP. Hook shot.
In. Y trying to catch up here to Tiger, but the shackle shot keeps him at bay. And Huskar straight back in with the life break in a fire. Power shot trying to snipe Jinkyu, but he popped his one, and it looks like he should get away.
OG doesn't rely, like, even without, you know, Chronosphere and Rock, they can still take a fight, because you have Huskar. On the other side, PSG LGD, they want to have Zeus ulti, they want to have Spectre. We're going to see that again. Like, Rock drop, and Yuragi managed to get out. Like, even though there was an Ice Bat, but a good Shackle, so he manages to get on top.
And look at this life break with the Fatal Bond.
Yeah, I mean, everyone had Fatal Bonds on them.
As soon as the Huskar spots the guy he wants to go on, Faith Beyond just immediately evaporates. Fatal Bonds bounces the damage back into the Chrono on the Zeus.
It was a nicely placed Chronosphere on the edge, catching 2 heroes.
It looked decent for LGD with that global presence and the Spectre joining in, but beautifully done by OG to execute, and they'll continue. Their steamroller don't stop. Jinkyu, another one on the list, ticked off.
I love build on Yuragi this time around, going for the Fusel Blade to be able to have like another form of slow, just to be able to kill supports, slow down Zeus potentially, like even Spectre burning the mana. And now inside Roche Pit they go. No rocket. Let's see Zeus, if they know something is up.
They've got to know. Huskar, such an important Roshan hero. And Jinkyu does ping it out. It's BZM with Yuragi holding out in that mid lane, and the rest of OG wanting to fight while Amar can basically just solo Roshan.
Got scouted out. Amar still has armlet and 16 wand charges. Let's see. Jinkyu looking for an angle, gets it.
Forward, they get into the pit. Roshan nearly dead, and they blow up Amar. The Thunder God's Wrath, beautifully placed on Misha. He drops the Golem in on them. snatched up. BZM grabs the Aegis and a 3-man chrono. Uragi's got 4 of them trapped in there, in fact. Nothing to say, focus down, and the upheaval slows them to a crawl. There's no escape. OG, they're destroying them. Arme's left out in the river. No way to get out of the grasp of OG.
Even though they got a good initiation, they found the angle for Huskar to be able to kill him. Rock drops and the beautiful Chronosphere 2 times in a row. Urag Giga Chad, I dare to say. Absolutely beautiful. And Tiny finally gets to get his couple of combos off in a team fight.
So
I'm not sure if Spectre ulti was not available. Yeah, it looked like it wasn't, so
still CD.
they connected, maybe like allowing too much, because Dawnbreaker ulti did get stopped there, and yeah, 4-man Chronosphere.
These fatal bonds as well, again, across 4 heroes, spreading this damage. So beautifully pushed out. BZM respawning after grabbing the Aegis. Just turns it back onto Arme. Focus everybody else, leave the Spectre till last. And wipe LGD off the face of the map. Amar looks a little uncomfortable that he died around Roshan. He's not too happy about that.
He wanted that Aegis, you know, Amar.
Yeah, he absolutely would have loved to have it. As Uragi picks up yet another one. One in that top jungle. LGD still trying to play into their vision there with nothing to say in Jin Q. Look at that damage spread, 10.7k from the Warlock, and that's majority from the Fatal Bonds. Haunting from Arme. They're hunting though, OG are in on to Zeus, nothing to say, can't heavily jump away. And a time walk out by the Faceless Void creates the gap he needs, allowing LGD to pick up the pieces, clear up Tiger.
Yes,
but now
Blade slowing
time
them down.
Dilation, the Diffusal Blade slow, and BZM with the gap closed. Oh, they toss him back into Amar, who's got the damage to rip the Dawnbreaker, limb from limb.
If this is a Maelstrom, they don't have enough. You don't have this another slow to be able to set things up for your Tiny, to toss him back into Amar. And yeah, Tiny's getting pretty massive. Now they are the ones controlling the runes. Uragi is going to pick up Regen, refill the bottle for BZM. And BZM on Tiny. Echo Saber done, Blink Dagger as well. Thinking about getting a Force Staff.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
There is 1 Force Staff on a Wind Ranger that's going to be done in 100 gold. Warlock probably thinking about getting one after finishing the pipe. They're going to hit a big timing with this pipe. A lot of damage will be negated by pipe, because most of the damage that they got is magical, besides Dawnbreaker. A couple of right clicks, you know, here and there. Getting scouted.
I saw BZM for a second, but it was Jin Q and Y, the 2 supports, not wanting to stick around. And yeah, look there. He's caught up now, BZM. Not just that, but they've overtaken in terms of bounty rune gold as well. Of course, getting them later on gives you more of that money. Why very aggressively farming this bottom Radiant jungle. OG is spam picking them. Don't let them get away with this. Get straight onto that Jakiro. Jin Q with the hook shot, the 4 staff across. But Y is focused down. Jin Q has the 4 staff and TP home. What was that? What was the idea there for LGD? Putting 2 supports bottom, is that trying to just drag OG away from the rest of their cause?
They freshly placed 2 Observer Wards, so this is where they're going to be playing for the next couple of minutes. Zeus having a bit of a rough game this time around. 4 deaths. They did manage to find him a couple of times, and he was thinking about getting the Aghanim Scepter. Maybe I need a Ghost Scepter on top of that. And now going for Eon Disc. Wants to be able to protect himself. And they also have Seb, you know, even though that he's not in the game, but a couple of voice lines. He's there. They can feel the presence. He's in the same building.
He's there in spirit. OG smoked up. Got great ways of catching and killing any number of these LGD heroes. BZM just going to clear out the mid-wave rather than going into the darkness of the dire triangle. And yet again, they're going to want to play into their vision. 2 Radiant Observer Wards, and 1 up towards the top jungle and 1 on the basically the ground of the dire base. Faint beyond, scouted by the power shot. Uragi chases. Shackle shot and the avalanche there, and this Faceless Void now unstoppable.
value from this Diffusal Blade. I already mentioned it a couple of times, but yeah,
more.
got him like 4 kills already. Level 18 on Faceless Void. That Hand of Midas really paying off. Ame, level 15, getting Manta Stall done. Still not that much damage. Like I don't know if they can just go in and burst Faceless Void, especially when Warlock is sitting behind him.
It's incredibly difficult. Yeah, look at that. The Spectre was a little bit ahead,
that one fight near the Roche pit is where everything skyrocketed for OG.
Couple of fights like that. OG in a great spot. Avalanche misses. And why with a Glimmer Cape? Going to get himself down into the tree line. Got TP out straight away, and the Force Staff there is allowing BZM to play aggressively into the Jakiro. Solar Guardian and the hook shot though. LGD not letting OG having any freebies, taking down the Tiny and the Wind Ranger.
These are the type of fights that PSG LGD needs to take, because Duragi was showing top lane with no TP, so they knew that they can go for this kind of a play. They're trying to split the map and then take them by surprise.
Straight back in onto Uragi, kill 2 bot, move up to top. Golden dropped onto Faith Beyond. The Ice Path misses, but Uragi's gone straight in towards nothing to save. Nearly blown up, but it's BKB forcing the Eon Disc now after that chrono. Uragi realizing quickly he couldn't finish the job that he started. And they will pick off Misha with Jinkyu's cogs. Faith Beyond. Careful, buddy. Look who's coming over this hill. It's a monster. It's Amar. And he is hungry.
Splitting out the map and then trying to go for Faceless Void, baiting the Chronosphere, assembling Eon Disc on Zeus. And also BKB usage from Faceless Void. It's all about these little things that did add up in this fight. Do you have any big items on side of PSG LGD? It's still far away from Spectres. Scotty and Zeus going for Aghanim Scepter. That's going to take a while. No BKB. Like PSG LGD will need to farm for another like 3 or 4 minutes to get another set of items on their side. Yeah,
I mean, forcing the chrono, the BKB is nice. Do you think OG are still happy with the way that all went? Because with no Haunt, Thunder God's Wrath, looking at the cooldowns there, like, yeah, you've got Hookshot, but can OG go for another fight? Or with Golem and Chrono being down, are they going to have to wait it out, just like LGD will have to do?
I don't know if they want to force a fight without a Chronosphere. Maybe if the fight comes next to them, they will take it, but they feel much more comfortable just waiting for Chrono, waiting for that rock.
So both teams looking just to get that farm going. Wait out the ulti cooldowns. And try and prepare themselves for those team fights. Now placing Deep Vision, we see OG there with a Tinker Ward. Setting things up to maybe push out the top tier 2. And of course we are now looking towards that second Roshan. A minute and a half until the big man spawns up again. GQ down in the bottom jungle. Find him.
He found the angle, still gonna die.
Hook shot to the creeps, but 3 heroes, 3 cores. Tracking back on him as they snap smoke. Aghanim Scepter delivered for the Huskar now, so he's got that upgraded life break, forcing the duel basically.
Yeah, pretty much. 3-second duration taunt. That's gonna be big. Locking down a hero if he can find an opening on Zeus. He does have an Eon Disc, but let's see this one. Ame, up and down, up and down.
Trying to juke it all around, but Amar's found him. Focusing the Spectre and the Chrono, jump in from Uragi, diving deeper. Tiger dies, Ame somehow, he's still alive. Solar Guardian's there to heal up the Zeus as well, but the Spectre finished off by OG.
Ame with the buyback.
He wants to fight and continue this one. Misha doesn't have the Golem. Down goes the Warlock. Faith Beyond with a double kill, and Amar, he needs backup, and he needs it fast. He'll life break down to the low ground on the creep wave, but LGD, they've got his number. Amar's in the cog.
Oh, he's gonna get a kill.
He's gonna
9
finish
charges, 9
GQ.
stacks. They're trying to keep him alive with the Glimmer Cape, but it's not gonna be enough. Roshan is being pinged out 20 seconds. Yeah, they need to get this Rosh, because it was a relatively early buyback from Ahmed. He wanted to join the fight. 10 seconds. In terms of Rosh damage, not the greatest. They do have like Manta Style, Spectre with the Desolate and Deso on Dawnbreaker, but I don't know if they want to go in. 40 seconds until Huskar respawns. Huskar is doing so much in these fights.
Oh yeah, he is. Like really, it is no joke when you've got fatal bombs on 4 or 5 heroes. And a life break comes out onto someone like a Spectre who is very tanky, all that damage stacking up and spilling across LGD. And Huskar there didn't have buyback, and we know that, but maybe something LGD were considering was the ability for Huskar to rejoin the fight and make it a 5v5.
New neutral items are dropping. Anything big? Not on their side. Spectre with the Paladin sword. That's not going to keep her alive in these fights. Clockwork with Cloak of Flames.
Huskar has one of those cloaks as well.
Yeah, he's called Clockwork when he picks it up.
Cloakwork, yes, of course.
All the abilities are going to be ready in 20 seconds for OG.
Oh, a blink dagger for Tiger now. Even more maneuverability to get on top of the Zeus, which has been his primary focus. Find these shackle shot angles. It's been very good from OG. Now Huskar focusing Spectre.
Time Walk misses.
Clockwork in the cogs. Shackled up. Well, there's Tiger. Showing off his fancy new item. Repositioning himself perfectly. And Clock dead for 40. Is this a quick
they're going to try
to
to force it. Yeah, I feel like they will. 40 seconds, more than enough. And here comes instant buyback from Clockwork.
And look at OG. As soon as that buyback happens, they're ready to move out of the pit, reposition, think about their options, go to the high ground. It's always the safest move. But which high ground do they want? They're like, do we go triangle? No. That's too far back. We'll go aggressively onto their high ground, move to their top lane, find an avalanche toss onto their Jakiro, and pick off white.
Tiger has been on point, playing with Tiny this time around, and just follows up on stun from Tiny. And I love itemization on OG. BZM going for a Force Staff to be able to get that outside of the cogs. Also, close the distance between the heroes, potentially get
Here he comes.
Sauce back.
Clockwork's in. A hook shots and cogs. The goaler in onto Faith Beyond's hit. Faceless Void. Yuragi BKB's up, but the Zeus is being focused by the Huskar. Amar just jumps straight into the back line.
Oh, doesn't get a bash.
No, he just TP's home. He's perfectly fine now, and Dawnbreaker slamming into them. BZM about to dive a blinks away from the hammer. Arme down in the river, looking to slip away from Yuragi and Amar, but another life break comes on forward. Solar Guardian is there from Faith Beyond, and they turn it on,
and he gets it. Crit 1.2k.
Big DD slamming from Faith Beyond, and he aims BZM now. They've got the Clockwork sure, but Yuragi needs to do so much more. Faith Beyond will be a big pick-off for them. And LGD lose 3 heroes, while OG could still go into the pit.
Yeah, they could potentially buy back on Huskar if they feel like they don't have enough. Golem is there to tank Roshan. They have sustained from Misha, but still respecting, forcing not going to say to DP out of the fight. Like, this is majority of their damage. And one more time, the Fusel Blade trying to set things up. That was a fight without a Chronosphere, because Yuragi wanted to land a 2-man Chrono, but canceled it last second. And they will have it. They will have it. 15 seconds for a BKB, so they... Ooh, that's a lot of damage. 25,000 damage on Faceless Void.
Look at the Zeus, Spectre, and Dawnbreaker doing about the same amount as well. But LGD not in position to go and contest this Roshan. OG gonna get it for free, it looks like. Nothing to say, sat in the mid lane. Arme down bottom. No ultis for LGD, and no way they can get into this pit to stop OG.
It seems like they're gonna bail. Not gonna go for Roche. Yuragi thinking about going in. Jumps to high ground just to use Hand of Midas.
He's got Chrono, they've got Shackle Shot, and it looks like they're gonna get an easy kill. Find the pick off yet again onto the Jinkyu Clockwork.
Amar getting both of these trades from Roshan. Aegis and the Shard. So now he has Aghanim Scepter plus the Shard, Sange on top of it, going for Satanic next. This Huskar is massive. They need to deal with him twice. Last fight they had double damage on Dawnbreaker and did manage to blow him up. But this time around, I feel like it's going to be much more difficult.
Way harder. Oh, we still really haven't seen the scaling potential of Arme, right? Going back to the discussion about the Spirit Vessel, it's been a slow, steady game for this Arme Spectre to get to the items he needs. And he's gone, you know, Vessel, Manta, Aghanims, and then later into the Skadi. Is he going to struggle to do the damage required from that carry?
It's more going to be about trying to kill the 2 supports on OG and then deal with the rest, because locking down Faceless Void with status resistance, with Warlock behind him,
Bash?
Might be a bit too difficult. Amar not in range to use it immediately.
Oh, our favorite animation.
Would stop it.
The Huskar midlife break animation gets stuck for a few seconds. And he's back.
I think you should follow. Go inside the base.
Yeah. I mean, it used to, right? There are a bunch of those things, maybe Dota 1, I don't know about early Dota 2, but there's things like if you Omni Slash to TPing target, there were chances that if you were on a certain frame, you'd TP back to
Spirit
base.
Breaker charge, you could not cancel it at one point. It was pretty grief ability.
Life break back into Fountain. Faith Beyond being found and immediately first hit bashed. Cancel the TP.
Can't get a blink.
They're into the trees. He BKBs up. The blink is coming. The hook shot forward. They'll save him up with Xinq's move. Uragi trapped in the cogs. Or is the Clockwork trapped with him? The bashes and stones. Uragi just turns and faces against Clockwork. LGD spend a fair amount there to save Faith Beyond, who is still stuck in the forest.
They should know that he's there, because he tried to TP out.
Yeah.
That means he's there somewhere, but they're not going to waste any time. And now Faceless Void with Skadi, another form of slow.
He's massive, 21,000 net worth on him. Huskar not too far behind. Yeah, Faith Beyond has kind of transitioned into that carry from the off lane that we're seeing more and more often. Uragi, where are you heading off to? Top jungle, hunting white. It's just very oppressive from OG. Push bot tier 1, move up to top. There is no room to breathe here for LGD. Being suffocated.
A little surprised that the Wind Ranger did not buy Shard. Because we have Blink Dagger, Force Staff, which is kind of okay, but I would love to see a Shard somewhere in between.
Yeah, the Gale Force always seems so impressive when it's used in pro games. Maybe he's forgotten about it. And Amar is pinging forward. He wants to keep this one going. Clears that creep wave, gets his own creeps up to tier 3. LGD going to quickly realize that they have to deal with this one way or the other. A team fight is imminent. Nothing to stop this Huskar just yet. Zeus's Nimbus quickly cleared out. Right, does LGD want to try and wrap around? Do they just face off in front of their tier 3s? They glyph. They hold OG back, but I don't think that's going to stop the War Machine from moving. Yeah, Uragi time walks up, reverses it back.
OG understands where the real threat is coming from. If you look at the itemization, Huskar does have extra magic resistance. Then you have Tiny with the Mage Slayer and the Warlock full pipe.
Huskar's just finished off a Satanic, I think.
You're right.
Coming on Courier. Full Satanic flying out to Amar. Drops the Sanj. And now he is just impossible to deal with. It's one of these games where, I don't know, like, who do you focus? You go on Huskar, you got to kill him twice, basically 3 times without how tanky he is in the Satanic. Faceless Void has BKB Time Walk, he's difficult to kill once.
It feels like they need an extra set of items. We're talking about Skadi on Spectre, potentially Basher, that goes through BKB, because they have a very hard time locking down the target. There are some BKB piercing abilities with the hook shot, but I don't think that's enough. And now new neutral items are dropping. I see Spell Prism.
Down to items, not like, you know, think about Dota and team fights, how we start them, the order operations. Is there some way they can think about hookshot Nimbus onto a Warlock, kill him first and then move on? Or is it just they need these items to actually contend with OG?
They'll need those items, but advantage for OG keeps on rising. 2.5 minutes for a potential roast spawn. There is Basher on Dawnbreaker.
Catch on white. Arme wants to force a fight. Nimbus there, Tiger hook shot it up. They've lost their Jakiro, but Uragi with his BKB and having Chrono ready, looking for Jinkyu. The bashes don't come. LGD disappear as quickly as they arrived and getting a 1-for-1.
Quick in and out. They're buying time. We mentioned the next set of items. There is AC queued up on a Dawnbreaker. We're getting closer to level 25 for Dawnbreaker especially. Fate Beyond having a really good game. Like, we're talking about 2 Starbreaker charges with Magic Immunity, then a BKB on top of that.
Hiding in the trees. Once more, look at Uragi's positioning.
Not just positioning, I'm looking at the neutral items. Zeus found the Timeless Relic. Extra 15% spell damage and debuff duration.
We saw that as Spell Prism on the Void. Even more time walks. OG planting themselves up top, knowing that Arme was in that northern tree line, but he's already TP'd away. OG just going to reclaim the outpost up top. Looks like LGD will go for the mirror movement, get some of that safer farm in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Maybe get some vision going as well, and knowing there's at least a minute until the next Roshan will be available.
We didn't mention that Faceless Void did hit level 25, having the backtrack ability. It's a big one. This is, like, this can turn the whole fight around, especially if you try to burst him down. They don't have anyone who builds into Silver Edge, which that talent is breakable.
Yeah.
So no one has it, so it's going to be very difficult for PSG LGD to just lock onto Uragi and try to kill him.
The checklist just keeps getting longer and longer, doesn't it? It feels like they need Decisive Voice, they need Silver Edge, they need this item, that item. Like, how do you deal with this? It's so damn difficult. And now Tiny has an Aghanim Scepter to add to the worries of LGD. Disassembled as Echo, of course. Has the Mage Slayer, Aghanims, Amar. They jump the Huskar, but look at that Golem. They drop over the Fatal Bonds on them, and Amar is still healthy to battle Faith Beyond. Brings the Dawnbreaker down. BZM in the back line takes down Jinkyu and Y as well. Tiger running up that high ground.
It seems like PSG LGD, they're running out of steam. They cannot match with the damage, healing, sustain that OG has at the moment. Again, this is a fight without the Chronosphere being used. Faceless Void, he is the carry, but so is Amar. They have like 3 good scaling cores. Amar is massive. Having Satanic, level 24, has 3,000 gold saved up. There's going to be a couple of buybacks coming in. Fate Beyond does have one, and so does Y.
Yeah, they might have to spend all 3. That tier 3 tower broken down by Amar and BZM. All they need are those couple of kills to shake the foundations of LGD's base. Nothing to say behind his tier 4s. He is at a safe distance here, just trying to shove out the wave as best he can, but Uragi on the high ground and BZM with a jump in, tosses Jinkyu across. Nimbus there and Uragi. Oh, he's lost a lot of HP by the time walk out. Tiger diving deep in towards, nothing to say Zeus, but they've got the damage to bring him down. And a Solar Guardian launching Faith Beyond forward.
Oh, the bash.
Jumping straight in towards them. Amar's going to life break back. BZM looks safe. He's managed to disengage. Amar on the run back, but Uragi, he's got the Chrono still. Eon Disc, it's not there. Doesn't have it available. Zeus gone. Faith Beyond getting caught out. And that's going to be the beginning of the end now. No Dawnbreaker. Amar and Uragi able to
isolated. He's going to go down.
He's got the inner fire. He's got the ability to stand his ground, but he will finally fall and hit the ground.
And Roshan respawn, a lot of commitment from PSG LGD. They did buy back on Dawnbreaker. They did buy back on Clockwork, so that means 1.5 minutes without him. Like, they need to have these buybacks to be able to win the fights.
They've got to contest, protect this Roshan. I mean, OG got a mid lane of barracks. A little bit of damage to the top tier 3. But LGD showing no slouches. A couple of buybacks. And now trying to sprint across the map towards the pit.
Uragi still wants to get something done. There's the silence.
He sees the Zeus. Stances him up, but Uragi time walking a little deeper and then back out again as BZM chucks the trees at them. Arme Loses a third of his HP, and the Zeus getting whacked around. The damage is incoming from OG. Uragi jumps back across and in again. The Zeus about to die. Arme stuck here. A nice macro pie.
What a play from Uragi. In and out with the time walks. And PSG LGD, they know they have no business left in this one. So we're going to go to the full distance. We're going to game 3.
OG showing, even after a game 1 stomp, they've got the mental fortitude to go up against one of the best teams in the world. Hey, you see the confidence there. Amar, the Husker. I don't know, do you feel good about yourself picking Husker last pick in a game like this?
Oh, they definitely do. I mean, he gets heavily targeted every single game OG plays. They try to ban him out, whether we're talking about the first phase, then in the second phase, coming down to the third one. But he always finds a hero. And sometimes it happens. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have a hero to play. He brought out Void Spirit. He always does. And in this one, like, they ran a tri-lane against a tri-lane. Dawnbreaker did good. A lot of good early rotations, like in terms of execution of this global strat from PSG LGD. But yeah, I want to mention Uragi. He had pretty amazing game. Going for this Diffusal Blade and of Midas that we mentioned a couple of times to be able to lock them down even more, the slows. And when they decided to go for these fights, like, they knew exactly, like, there was some good aggression from PSG LGD when they try to split up the fight, but seems like PSG LGD
Tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away through you, the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away through you, the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need an old man. Getting better. You had to go back where you came from. Now you're bitter. Out of sight, out of mind for real. Yeah, I wouldn't wanna be you for real. But if you don't get it from me, I'm out of it. I'm out of it. I lick my tongue and then I'm done. I'm out of it. I'm out of it. Oh man, to tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away through you, the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away through you, the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need an old man. What does perfect even mean? Is there even such a thing? Ooh, can we switch up all the rules and imagine a utopia? Darling, I'm just so fed up with these expectations. They keep weighing me down. My heart is begging me to get the hell out of my head. I'm gonna live inside the upside down for a minute and pretend, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa, whoa, and if I say it ain't It's ingrained in my head, and I start to think, honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Whoa. Honey, I'm a perfect 10. Honey, I'm a, yeah. So you wanna go to war with me? You're talking like you think you're royalty. You think that I'm afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine, but I am here to stay. Won't look away. The storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control feeling our bones. I'm coming for it, coming for it. Coming for the throne. Coming for the throne. So you wanna be my enemy? You should've known I'd never kiss the rain. Ice runs in my veins, won't play it safe. I don't belong with your nobility. Who died and made you king of anything? You think that I'm insane? It's your mistake. Kingdoms rise and fall. I've come to take it all. I'll take it. I've come to take it. Kingdoms rise and fall. I've come to take it all. I'll take it all. Storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control feeling our bones. I'm coming for it, coming for it. Coming for the throne. Coming for the throne.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it